There's something that tastes a little different about these, but this one, it melts differently. Now, they're all milk chocolates, just made different. But once you begin to understand the makeup of your ingredients on the back, there's no turning back. Hey guys, I'm Kyle from Soul Chocolate. I'm a bean-to-bar chocolate maker here in Toronto, and I spend a lot of time thinking about what ingredients do and don't actually belong in chocolate. And I picked up a few chocolate bars, which I thought I could discuss in terms of the ingredients and why they exist in there, especially in cheap chocolate. So to start, I'm just gonna rule out the common thread between, I guess, these 4 bars in particular. Now, I guess I could always throw in our chocolate bar as well for a reference point, but I'll talk more about this later. So chocolate needs to have cocoa and cocoa butter, or cacao and cocoa butter. There's many different terms they can go by, but they're kind of the non-negotiables. Now, these all being milk chocolate need to have milk solids in them as well, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I am here to talk about are the extra little ingredients that help the chocolate become cheaper from a manufacturer's perspective. So we're gonna axe out sugars, milk chocolate, sweeter by nature. That's the common thread here as well. We're dealing with cocoa butter, unsweetened chocolate. It can go by cocoa mass, cocoa liquor. There's a bunch of different terms there. What I want to talk about first are emulsifiers. So emulsifiers essentially help bind the fat and solids or distribute them a little more evenly within the chocolate. And that can increase fluidity or reduce the viscosity of the chocolate at hand. So in a lot of chocolates, you'll see soy lecithin or sunflower lecithin as being one of the top 2 that are used. This one in particular, along with this milk chocolate bar, contains something called PGPR, polyglycerol polyricinoleate. And these again, that one in particular, really helps with the fluidity of your chocolate above and beyond the soy or sunflower lecithin. So if I'm a manufacturer and I want to be able to get my costs down, I'm gonna jack up the emulsifiers such as the soy or sunflower lecithin along with the PGPR so I can reduce the amount of cocoa butter that I have in my recipe. Cocoa butter is most likely the #1 most expensive ingredient typically in a lot of chocolate bars. It's like a derivative of cacao itself. There's a lot of work to get there. It's used in a bunch of industries. There's a lot of need for it. So when it comes to stuff like this, if you want to hit a really cheap price point, you know, $3-4 for 100 grams, you got to drop out the most expensive ingredients. Hello PGPR, hello soy lecithin. Our chocolate bar has sunflower lecithin. When you are dealing with a lot of high solid recipes, the fluidity suffers. It is a challenge in the manufacturer's perspective. How do you get something to flow well? How do you get it to deposit well into your molds? Sunflower lecithin does kind of allow us to reduce our cocoa butter levels by maybe 4% or something like that. The additional soy and PGPR, you know, it's probably like 8-10% at minimum. So yes, we are adding some, and I think yes, most people do when you start getting into the sweeter recipes in particular. So these 2 aside, another really interesting one in this world of Lindt and Cadbury, something called artificial flavor. So it's a bit of an umbrella term. It's typically lab derived, and it's to mimic flavors that we would experience naturally, just not so natural. So artificial flavor, I can't tell you exactly what they're trying to replicate, but my guess would be chocolate. You can have chocolate, artificial flavors. It's really fascinating. It can taste like chocolate with no chocolate in it. So again, that's just the nature of this beast, right? If I can reduce the cocoa content in my recipe and make it taste the same by using some artificial flavor, sweet. You know, I did lump Lindt into this world here. It's on the higher end, and I say cheap chocolate, not typically in terms of process or execution, because I'm sure a lot of these have very incredible processes and procedures they follow. It's more of a price point. These all under $5, typically around $3.99, you know, $4.50, 100 gram bars. Ours $3.99, 25, 30 gram bar, right? So like the price point is quite different based on the weight, and it's the ingredient integrity. So the common thread between all four of these, yes, we have cocoa butter in 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a non-negotiable. There's different types of cocoa butter too, which is really interesting. So now we have natural cocoa butter and deodorized cocoa butter. Natural retains, I believe, a lot more of the acidity and flavors and aroma of chocolate. Deodorized is deodorized, so it essentially just tastes like fat. Like there's not much to it. The value of that in one of these recipes is you can start jacking that up a little bit without contributing a different flavor to your recipe. And I guess what I'm really trying to get at is there's different levels of sourcing quality out there when you are looking for raw ingredients as a manufacturer. Cocoa butter being one of the most expensive, these guys are probably looking for something that's pretty cost effective. And that's not to say that we aren't either, but like we still have the non-negotiables of it tasting good and performing well and coming from someone that we've vetted. So deodorized cocoa butter, it can get rid of any of the off flavors that could be present in the raw product itself. So this kind of goes back to a processing level or on the farm level. Maybe the stuff that they're getting is not of such great quality as a raw ingredient. Maybe there's, I don't know, traces of off flavors from fermentation, dare I say mold. You know, these can be eliminated and controlled in their final product. Because if they're using a natural cocoa butter and they have something that goes off in it, it means that that whole batch is garbage. And same with ours, but you know, we're buying of quality and we taste our product, and we also build these really strong procedures to make sure that it's going to taste good. Anyways, I digress. All the last I really see on here that I wouldn't mind talking about, and it's a little common as well. Actually, no, there's two more. The barley malt extract on Lindt. That's an interesting one. I can't say for certain why they want to add barley malt extract. It could just be, you know, their signature flavor that makes their milk chocolate their milk chocolate. We did have a customer who wanted us to create a Lindt milk chocolate look-alike, so to speak. Because like we're a chocolate manufacturer, we make chocolate for a bunch of people. And sometimes they like what they like, and that's great. Not dissing Lindt one bit. So we tried to reformulate Lindt, obviously without the barley malt extract or artificial flavor. And we came up with something that had about 30% cacao in it, similar to Lindt, but the makeup was really interesting. It was about 8% cocoa mass and maybe like 25% cocoa butter, like pretty high in cocoa butter, a little over 30%. For us, it's pretty crazy when you have that little cocoa mass. And I'm not saying like a bar like Lindt has it, but the color usually speaks for itself. With our milk chocolate, it's 45% in total. So it's a split of 25% cocoa mass, 20% cocoa butter. Really, really simple ingredient breakdown. I've talked enough. I've burned some calories and feel I should probably try a few of these and just give a bit of my honest take into what they all are, and maybe if I can taste the ingredients that are influencing like the texture or flavors that are found in here. So Hershey's, for example, the PGPR, again, it's something that I don't have a lot of experience with. One thing to note, it does have a bit of a snap. So snap essentially is when you try and break your bar like this, what is happening? It breaks apart. Some bars you'll see are very bendy. When you get into the other types of fats or oils outside of cocoa butter, it can help or it can contribute to that type of bendiness in chocolate. It smells like Halloween. It's a good thing, you know, it reminds me of being a kid. It's a sweet milk chocolate. Texturally, it's kind of sandy. Although they say creamy milk chocolate, that could be from the sugar content. It could be from the tempering. Maybe this was stored at a store not so well and went out of temper and all weird, but it looks pretty decent. I taste a lot of sweetness. It kind of tastes malty, which is, you know, interesting and fun, and there's this bit of like chocolatiness. It's likely a contribution of the milk chocolate itself and then the artificial flavor that I can't tell you what it is. Moving on, This one also has PGPR, so I figured let's try them back to back. Visually, they're rather similar, to be honest. Color-wise, they look identical. Really interesting. It doesn't give you any kind of breakdown outside of the nutrition facts, but one thing to note is this no-name brand chocolate is made in France from another manufacturer. No Name typically operates with a lot of private label, so that's how it is. Less sandy, creamy, sugary, maybe a bit of like vanilla. Makes sense. Vanilla extract. Kind of tastes coconutty too, I don't know why. It's sweet, it tastes like milk chocolate. What people really like. I can't tell you if I could taste polyglycerol, polyricinoleate or not in either of these. And maybe that's the win on their part. Maybe it is using it for a manufacturer's win and be able to save a bit of costs and then create something that is sweet and creamy and what a lot of kids like. Moving on, Cadbury Dairy Milk. What I would really be curious to taste again is artificial flavor mostly. Again, I don't know what it is. I don't know their cacao content. Similar in color again to these makers. Maybe a touch bit lighter, but that's where the common thread is. Like Hershey's, Cadbury, No Name, they're all kind of the same, you know, just maybe wrapped differently. And that's where a bunch of information could help, you know, maybe as a customer. More creamy. I like it. This one actually has milk ingredients as the #1 ingredient and cane sugar as #2. So that's probably why it's as creamy as it is. This is my top so far. It has a bit of a snap. Obviously, they're recessed more, you know, so easy to break, but kind of just breaks off. Nothing crazy. Finally, for now, the Lindt. They've always done a wonderful job, I think, in like their branding, everything. It just kind of speaks elegance, and a lot of people associate it with being elegant, and good on them. I feel like they've done a wonderful job at creating something that people really appreciate and love and can make part of their day. It's just not something that we do. So again, color-wise, similar to pretty much everything else. Maybe a little more brown. I'd say instead of gray looking. Sugar #1 ingredient. This is by far the creamiest one actually. Sugar, lactose, barley malt extract are what make up their sugars. Then they have milk ingredients, cocoa butter, cocoa mass. Super creamy. One thing I'd like to note, creaminess is not only created through the ingredients, it's also created through the process. So there's a lot of process here, a lot of process where the chocolate's made. One, it's roasted, raw product. Then you're refining the cacao nibs into a mass. Then you're adding your sugar in. So there are protocols, and you can build a recipe around that. And the longer you refine it, typically the finer it becomes. You can get to a point where it's too fine with sugar and it actually becomes gummy. This isn't there, but it's the creamiest for sure. And then the next step is conching. Conching, essentially you can increase your fluidity through like a shear. You're basically refining or breaking down these particles further and distributing your fat and solids more evenly. And you're also driving moisture off, which helps with fluidity. So all these have different protocols. So I can't say if the ingredients are what makes this more creamy than the rest, or you know, this one tastes more chocolatey or whatever it may be. There are so many fine details, but my point is that ingredients do matter, and it is nice to be aware of what you are consuming when you're out there looking for chocolate bars. Lastly, this is our chocolate bar, and as I mentioned, we do something a little darker. You might be able to see here, it is darker. It's not typically what people associate as a milk chocolate, although it's 45%. That means the majority of the recipe is actually sugar. You know, same with all these. It has a snap. You know, it's just a little different. The composition's different. We're not adding in PGPR. We're not trying to max out our soy lecithin. We're trying to create something that's balanced and flavorful and that we feel proud of. Yes, it's sweeter. Yes, all these are sweeter. Sometimes milk chocolate's delicious. Right away. You can even smell the difference. It's more vibrant. There's more chocolate aroma to it. Not as creamy as Lindt, but it's pretty creamy. This reminds me of like a nicer mini egg, if that makes sense. There's something about it that's really flavorful. Do yourself a favor, pick up your favorite chocolate bar, read the back of the ingredients, and just see what it's all about. Ask some questions if you don't know it. You'll become a little more well-informed, and maybe you'll make different choices based on that. Or maybe you'll have a cheat day and be like, yeah, whatever. I need a little PGPR in my life. And no hating you for it. But I'm going back to this guy, and I'm gonna enjoy this one now. Can't burn my coffee.